On your way in, you might have gotten a handout of Psalm 27. We have some more if you didn't get one. And those joining from home, don't worry, a little bit later on, Raz Husseini figured out a way to share that with you as well. So you'll see the text before you, but because this is the psalm that we're supposed to focus on during the month of Elul, I wanted to study a little bit with you. And some of this is new to me because I'm learning all the time, and I found something this week by Rabbi David Galinkin that helps us to understand why Psalm 27 is associated so deeply with the month of Elul. There are 150 psalms in the book of Psalms, so there are others we could have probably looked to and chosen. Why this one in particular? And I'll just share a few answers, and then I want to focus on that verse that Cantor Emma started our service with, Achat Sha'alti, which is really the central message. And then hopefully it's something that we can take with us, not just for Elul, but really for all the days of our lives. So one thing that the Kabbalists teach us, the Jewish mystics, some of them were really into what's called gematria. They would count numerology. They would use the numeric value of each letter and also count words, and they would use that to try to find meaning. So one thing they notice, and you can do this because you have it right in front of you, is that the word Adonai, and here I just have it as a hey with a little apostrophe, Adonai appears 13 times in this psalm. 13 is a Jewish lucky number, not unlucky, but a lucky Jewish number because there are 13 attributes of God described in the Torah. And one of the high points of the High Holy Day service is when the cantor chants those 13 attributes, focusing on God's forgiveness. You know, it says in the 13 attributes that God doesn't forgive everything, but that means that God does forgive most things. So we focus on those 13 attributes. So the fact that it's mentioned 13 times in this psalm, that's a connection to that verse, Adonai, Adonai. And then again, those of you who have the text in front of you, if you look at verse 13, which is on the second of the two pages, the first word is lule, but it's got all these dots over it and dots under it. It's bedotted everywhere. And thank you. Just kidding. Right there. There you go. There's all these dots. Why all the dots? And so one answer is that's so we don't miss that word. And look at the word Lamed, Vav, Lamed, Aleph. And if you read it backwards, or actually kind of forwards, left to right, for us English speakers, but if you read it left to right, what word does it spell? Elul, the month of Elul. So that's kind of fun, but you could probably find other psalms where that is the case, where there's a word that spells Elul. That's just kind of sweet and sort of cute. But the main reason that Psalm 27 is read this time of the year is how it relates to the work that we're doing, trying to prepare ourselves for these Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, these 10 days of turning. And here's how Rabbi David Galinkin puts it. According to simple logic, Psalm 27 was chosen to be recited at this time of the year because it contains words of encouragement during the days of awe, when every Jew is fearful about her fate, and a supplication to God and a supplicant to God for salvation. So that's what we're doing this time of the year. We're wondering, you know, when I look back on the year, honestly, like there was some things I did that weren't so good. There were ways I behaved that are regrettable, and like, do I really deserve another year? If we're being truly honest with ourselves, there are probably some moments where we feel that way. And so the message of this psalm can help give us courage and hope for repentance. Look at verse 1 right in front of you. It says, "The Eternal is my light and my help. Whom should I fear?" So that should give us a little courage. God is our light, and we shouldn't be so fearful. And look at verse 7 right there. "Hear, O Eternal, when I cry aloud, have mercy on me, answer me." And so this is a beautiful preparation for the holy days. The choir has been working so closely with Talia and with Cantor Emma over these last couple of weeks, months, years? No, weeks probably, preparing. Jeff is working with our Stephen Wines Temple band. They're going to be there as well. We have soloists joining us and our other cantors and cantorial interns. There's a lot of people working to make sure that our supplication, the words we call out to God, are elevating and beautiful and heartfelt and in tune and in time. You guys are going to do all those things, but that is no small task. That is an enormous task to make all that happen. And then our amazing crew, some of whom are right here with us tonight, they're going to be there to make sure that people who can't join us that day because they might be home ill, or people who are joining us from far away and want to be part of this Stephen Wise Temple community, that they'll be able to hear it beautifully and see it, not in 3K, kids. We're up to 4K. They're going to see it in 4K too. So it's good. It's going to be incredible. So all of that, though, is so that we can cry out to God and God will hear our cry. Now, what is the last verse is in some ways the most important in that regard in terms of having courage and faith, because that's the one that says, and we've been teaching this a lot these last couple of weeks because we've shared the song with you that we did for our school kids, Kaveh El Adonai. This is the one of the central messages of the psalm, that we don't give up hope. We keep on hoping in God. Kaveh has that word tikva in it. But now I want to go back to verse 4, the one we started our service with, the one that Cantor Emma shared with us at the very beginning. Achat sha'alti me'et Adonai, ota avakesh. This is the central message. And what are we saying? This is what I ask of you. Achat sha'alti. There's one thing, God, I want. Only one thing. I want to shivti beveit Adonai. That means, like the psalm, Hine matovu manaim shevet achim gam yachad. It's the same root as shevet. It means to dwell or to sit or to be in a place, to inhabit a place. So the one thing I want, God, is to be in the Beit Adonai kol yemei chayai, all the days of my life. So if I was being a little cynical, I'd say, who amongst us wouldn't want to spend all the days of our life in shul? I'm talking all day, every day. It's like one long Yom Kippur, but forever. You know that feeling on Yom Kippur when you're in shul and you're like, oh my God, you got the dry mouth going, you haven't eaten, you're getting a little kind of dizzy, and you're like, something's happening. But imagine doing that every day for the rest of your life. That's what the psalm seems to be asking. All I want, God, is I want to dwell in the house of Adonai forever. Shivti beveit Adonai kol yemei chayai. So is that really what we want? And all during Elul, every day, we keep saying it like we believe it? So Rabbi Galinkin brings in this beautiful teaching actually from his own father. And the first thing they note is that even the priests whose job was to work in the Beit Adonai, in the temple that stood in Jerusalem thousands of years ago, even they didn't stay there all the time. They had to go home to sleep. They were sometimes in a state of impurity, and so they had to go to the mikveh and clean up before they came back. So even the priests, even the Kohen Gadol, even the high priest didn't spend all of his days in the temple. So it doesn't mean actually being in shul all day long or being in the temple that once stood. Instead, it is calling us to think about what it means to build Batei Adonai, houses of the eternal, everywhere we go. Everywhere we go, we're going to make that place a Beit Adonai. So in our own homes, in some ways, that can be a little bit easier. We can make our home a Beit Adonai. And those of you joining from home, perhaps that's exactly what you have happening right now. You have your candles lit and you have your Kiddush wine ready, or maybe you're into your second glass of Kiddush wine. I don't know. That's between you and God. You're ready. Maybe you're ready for dinner. And you're trying to make your home a place that embodies Jewish values. A place where you speak to one another, whomever you share your home with, you speak to them with kindness and compassion. When you get angry at each other, you try to do it in a way that shows kavod for one another, even when you're upset. And you try to make sure that everything that happens in your home has integrity. That's how you make your home a Beit Adonai. And you can do the same thing in your place of work. Maybe you own your own business, and you can really help to control how the values, the highest values of our tradition, the values that inspire you, can be lived in your workplace. Our Torah talks about making sure that all your measures are accurate. You know, you're not ripping off your customers, and you're not taking advantage of your employees. You're conducting yourself with integrity. A lot of you probably read this week about the founder of Patagonia, who donated his entire corporation to charity, billions of dollars that could have gone in his pocket or the pockets of his kids and grandkids. And don't worry, there's plenty. They're going to be okay. They're not going to starve. But still, what a gift and what an example of how you can make a company a Beit Adonai. The point is, we can do this everywhere we go, and that's what the Psalm's asking us to do. Shivti beveit Adonai kol yemei chayai. I want to be in God's house everywhere I go, in everything I do, in every interaction I have. And especially when you get into those difficult interactions, especially when it's going to be hard, there's a conflict, somebody who gets under your skin, or somebody maybe that you get under their skin, and you kind of know that. And you're about to have that interaction. What does it mean to step back and imagine, okay, Shivti beveit Adonai. Achshav, right now, this is going to be a moment where I'm going to put myself in the house of the eternal. And if we can do that, if we're able to do that, well, then we're all ready for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Because, yes, from time to time we might fall short, but overwhelmingly, when we look at the balances that we think about, good and evil, and am I going to be written in the good book or not, we're going to see that the scales will tip to our favor. This is what we're asking God for in Psalm 27. The one thing, but really in some ways it's everything. Everything's embodied in that. To have the strength and discipline to make sure that wherever we find ourselves, at home, at work, when we travel, that we will embody our highest values and we will make every place a Beit Adonai. May these days of Elul inspire us to live our lives this way each and every month of the year, not just in Chodesh Elul, but all 12 months of the year. Shabbat Shalom.